Button?
Yeah, I pushed the button. We're live now, Roy.
Been pushed.
Yeah, we're live. You want to say welcome or you want me?
Welcome everybody to Red Hoof Talk. I'm Roy and this is my sister Shannon and we're coming to you live from Indian country. And my Indian country is the west coast of the United States. And I wanted to say thank you to all of those tribes, all the tribes. I don't want to name them, they're too numerous. I name one every once in a while, but I don't name all the tribes of California upon whose land that I stand on. And Shannon?
Yes, sir. Welcome everyone to Red Hoop Talk. I'm Shannon O'Loughlin, and I'm a citizen of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. And Roy, my brother Caddo, if we can call Caddos and Choctaws brothers and sisters, I'm not sure. We're usually fighting with one another, but I'm coming to you live from Maryland, which is the traditional territory of the Piscataway, and I hope you all know where you're standing and the people whose land you're standing on, and give them thanks. So Roy hasn't been with us for a couple of shows. Roy, you want to?
It has been horrible. The absence has made me weary. That's for sure. I miss the show. I miss being here with you, and it's hard living out of a suitcase and working working out of hotels and living out of hotels and working out of suitcases.
Well, and this is just not a good time to be walking or living in a hotel and traveling and.
No, and it's always
I'm not sure if it's commendable of you to be doing that in the middle of a pandemic, Roy. Glad you're here with us and that you're not out there in amidst the germs and.
So you're right, and it is. You know, I have my mask on all the time, and you know, in the airports, everybody's very aware of it, obviously, because everybody's got their. You know, it's like this weird thing when you like, you know, when you go and you sit down before you get on your plane, they have like some of the seats, everybody like tries to give 6 foot of distance. So you're like trying to find a place to sit, you know, without, you know, backing up to somebody or sitting too close to somebody. And, you know, and everybody's got their masks on and if you've been out in public for a long time, you know, with these masks, they tend to fall off of your nose. So unless you got a really good one that latches onto your nose, which for a guy like me, the glasses get fogged up because if you have one that latches on your nose, your glasses get steamed up from breathing. But now you realize, you know, when you do that, you're like, wow, those are droplets. That's, you know, what's going out there. So, you know, so it's this weird kind of consciousness that you have now when you're out in public, especially in airports, because I spend. Oh, thank you. I just got a cup of coffee. Sorry. And when you're out in public, you're so aware of what's going on and how far you are away from each other. And everybody in the airport, you know, it's not it's people that don't know each other, never will see each other again. So it's this weird kind of atmosphere being in these hotels and airports and whatnot. But yes, I'm always aware of it. Yes, I'm leery of it. And believe it or not, the night of the debates, the presidential debates, I was working at the Cleveland International Airport. So I wasn't just flying in and out of it. I was working there when the Flying Cheeto came in. and you know, they shut the airport down. And the weird thing is all of those people that got off that stinking plane had the COVIDs, you know. And now all of those folks are, you know, sick or in the hospital or whatever, you know. So anyway, my thoughts and best wishes, even though, you know, I may not agree with what's going on out there, those people, my wishes go to those people to get well, because they got to quit spreading. They're spreading amongst each other now.
Yeah, for sure. Without a freaking doubt. Hey, Lance is saying welcome back.
Hi, Lance. Whoa. Thank you for the welcome back, and welcome back to the chat room with you.
And if people didn't know what was going,
What was that? I thought something jumped out of your lap.
It's just my clothing. I'm having a clothing malfunction.
A wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, exactly. If people didn't know what was going on this evening, this is a special evening. This is an evening where we want you in the chat room to join us on camera live. So if you're not dressed or if you need to comb your hair real quick, go do that.
Or
Come
don't.
back
Or don't.
and we're going to should I put up the thing?
Yeah. Throw the
thing up there, and then I'm going to also put it in the chat box. This is where you can come and get in our studio, and we can pop you up here, and you can ask questions of us. You can ask general like Indian law questions or other history. Ask Roy, where what's that on the side of his head, or what's missing on his face.
So this is your Red Hoop Talk tonight. We're making it a talking circle so that anybody can come in and chat up with us and bring up some type of conversation. So this is your Red Hoop Talk tonight. So April Skinner says, "Hey, Roy and Shannon, how's your lineup for speakers?"
Hey, we're waiting for you, April.
We're waiting for it's a free for all. So just feel free to come on in. It's not we're not, bringing people up and as needed or if we scheduled them or whatever. We Shannon built this really nice questionnaire to ask people to come on the show to apply, but sometimes this might work just as well. Just come on in and we'll chat it up. And if you're look at that. We got somebody popping in already.
I know, and I think it's somebody who we can talk about UFOs with.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I don't know if you were here when this guest was on. I also asked some of our alumni to join us if they wanted to pop on.
Nice.
So we'll just wait for him to get his technical issues resolved because I can't see his face yet.
Yeah, he's still bringing his camera up, it looks like.
Yeah, and we'll pop him up. But yeah, it's a free for all. So join anytime. And if we're we'll just hold you in our green room, but you'll be able to hear what's going on. If we are talking to someone else, or we may just bring up, how many people can we bring into this? 10?
10. You could bring up to 10 people in.
10 total.
It gets a little chaotic with 10 because on my other show that I do, when you bring 10 people in, it gets kind of crazy.
We may need a little craziness after the few weeks we've had.
Oh boy. Let's see. So Dallin, so I don't know if you're having trouble with your camera, but pop your camera on and we'll bring you up.
Yeah. So I hope everyone is doing well, and that your health is better than our the leader of the free world. Hope your health is better than that. I think there's still some really important things going on in Indian country that we could also talk about today. One of the things that the association has been involved in is helping support the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition, and Vance Black Fox may step in and talk to us a little bit about that. But Deb Haaland in Congress introduced a bill that's truth and healing bill regarding boarding school and the boarding school history in the United States. So it sets forward a commission to look at the issue of boarding schools in the U.S., similar to Canada, but I hope it works better than what's happened in Canada. And hopefully we'll have some people on to talk about that a little bit tonight. But if you have any questions about anything, even like, what's our favorite color? What's favorite plant medicine? I don't know. Our astrological signs.
We can go over that too, I guess. Hey, so something else that hopefully we can get into, and this is more your area than mine, of course, because it's legal issues. Now, I told you that I had heard that the Attorney General, Mr. Barr, was meeting with Indian country. He was he was with the Cherokee Nation, and it was over the McGirt ruling, is what it was.
Okay.
But he was exposed at that super spreader event, and then he went and met with Cherokee Nation officials.
That occurred after the super spreader event thing?
Yes.
Oh, God.
And he was, we've got a vulnerable community, and this jackwagon is meeting with, people in our community after he had been to that super spreader event. It's all over the place with him walking around, hugging and kissing people and breathing his droplets all over the place. And, and all of those people, like you look at the map, they've got now they'll show you, go online and they'll show you maps of like the spreaders. And so you get a picture, and all the spreaders are sitting like in the first two rows of that. I guess it was at the Rose Garden that they had this thing. So all the super spreaders who are sick, and I mean, what's his name? The New Jersey guy,
Chris Christie.
So Christie's sick now, and he was right there with them all. And Barr was with all of them, but he hasn't been, he won't go get checked again. I guess he got checked like the day of or something like that. And he's like,
really?
Get checked.
What I've really liked about it is I like how everyone on the news is talking about the risk factors of various people in Trump, and they're talking about how they're all obese. And I don't know why
they were asking, I saw him ask, well, since he's morbidly obese.
It's like, all right.
Okay, well, they're just the risk factors. Since he's morbidly obese, is it how's he doing?
Yeah. Chris Christie, the same thing, right?
Oh yeah, well he's like 2 times morbidly obese is what I would figure. He's a very large man.
And they posted, we should be talking about Indian stuff, by the way, but they posted.
It pertains because this clown decided that it was okay to go meet with our leaders in Indian country after he had been to some super spreader event. And Indian country's already been hit hard enough. It's already vulnerable. And then he doesn't give a shit, he just doesn't give a shit. And that's not cool. That's not cool.
But that's Oklahoma. So in Oklahoma, there's no mask requirements from what I understand, but if anybody knows anything different, let us know. So Oklahoma is just one of the Republican led states. I'm trying to be bipartisan because I really don't think being Republican or Democrat right now is the big deal. I think the big deal is we need to recover from.
And what's funny is that it never has been. It's, and especially when it pertains to Indian country. Sure, one group may lean or act like they lean a little more towards Indian country, but never have. So it really doesn't matter, I guess, as far as that goes. But as far as people in general, the basic welfare of all of the people on this land needs that care, needs people to actually be thinking, oh, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't. Look, it's those people who are sick now because they decided that it was okay to run around without masks. And it's been proven that helps. It keeps you from spreading, and it keeps others from spreading it to you.
Yeah.
So it's like a double layer of protection if we're all doing it.
Yeah.
As soon as one person doesn't and another person doesn't, then we continue to spread this thing around, you know? And
I like what April is saying here. It's over your face. What does that say? So she's more concerned with her tribal chief tossing away sovereignty because of the McGirt decision and how other nations may use it to their advantage against the U.S. government.
And that's a whole other issue. We discussed that when it first happened. It's like, are you kidding me? Really?
But Chief Hoskins is the only tribal leader of the 5 civilized tribes meeting with the Attorney General about the sovereignty issues out of McGirt. So it's clearly those old tactics of divide and conquer. What else could it be?
Yeah. Or yeah, you're right. Find the weak link, or find the one that'll side with you, and use that as a general. Okay, this is consensus. You know, because one leader is not consensus of all of Indian country.
Right. And it's what Governor Stitt has done with the casino issue in Oklahoma as well. He's worked with a few smaller tribes to get a casino agreement, and all the other tribes are still.
Well, it's the hang around the fort situation, right?
Well, ooh, don't say that. I think all sovereign nations have a right to assert their sovereignty as they see fit, but I don't think all of us understand sovereignty, and all of us don't understand our treaties. And April says, in her opinion, she thinks Hoskins is corrupt, and what else is new in Indian country?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Hey, so cool. We got video on Dallin, and our good friend and longtime chat contributor Lance is in here. So let's pull everybody up real quick and
all right, let's get him up. Are you pulling him up, or am I?
I was trying. Let's see. There. Hey, what's up, Dallin? And Lance, welcome, Lance. Good to see you, man. Good to have you.
How's it going, guys?
This is going to be fun. All right. So, let's divide this up. I'm in the Brady Bunch now. So Dallin was our guest a few weeks ago, and we had such a good time, but we forgot to talk about UFOs. So I have to mention that. Okay. And then Lance is like always on our chat. So glad to have you on, Lance. So none of us know Lance very well. So maybe we should ask Lance to tell us a little bit about himself.
Tell us about yourself.
Long story. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. Cool. I'll kind of go with a traditional background. So my mother, I'll start with my father. He's easy. Hopi and Tewa from Arizona. So First Mesa, those guys over there. My mother, she's enrolled, and I'm enrolled over there too, at the 3 affiliated tribes in North Dakota, Mannahadatsa and Arikara. So her father is also Hunkpapa Lakota, also Northern Cheyenne. And on top of that, French and English. So I'm just kind of all around the map with just another Indian mud out there, so to speak, but just kind of so that's kind of the background where I'm from. Before COVID, I was a personal trainer. I used to work with Santa Ana Pueblo for a while. Yeah. And right before COVID, I was really trying to start my own thing, but then that COVID hit, so I kind of pulled everything back just to save on money and stuff like that. So since then, I've been kind of just going that old school route with learning how to plant, both on my father's side, Hopi and Tewa, adding a little twist with those Hadatsas. And I don't know too much on those guys right here on the Hadatsa side. So I've been kind of just learning on how to integrate them with some of the Hopi Tewa stuff that are dry farming. Mm. So the kind of the difference with like the Hadatsa type stuff, of course, the corn, the beans, and the squash. But they also added a lot of sunflowers on the edges of their fields to bring some of those pollinators in. So I've been kind of just mixing it up on the farming side, trying to remember a lot of what kind of goes on both on the Pueblo side and also with not necessarily the 3 affiliated tribes, but the Cheyenne Arapaho side. We used to live in Billings, and my mom was making a family tree, and we had this little kind of missing gap, and she figured out someone else was making a family tree, so from our same family. So we figured out where that Cheyenne Arapaho side, and then lo and behold, he was just living down the road from us. And so we kind of just linked in with that Cheyenne Arapaho side. So I've been kind of leaning more on those guys, experiencing the sun dances, So that's kind of a short version.
Damn, you sound really confused, Lance. You got a lot of Indians going on inside that.
Yeah, and it kind of has that
dancing and singing. It's
and it kind of has that yin yang effect because the new year for the Pueblos is the winter solstice, and then Cheyenne Arapaho it's going to be the summer solstice. So you're kind of playing around with that, having 2 years, I guess, and trying to remember that and make sure I'm not crossing any paths, so to speak, Indian wise. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Wow, it's great to meet you.
It's glad to meet you guys. You guys have great topics all the time. I'm always looking to talk about Indian stuff. You don't get that a lot of times, just in the world. So it's good to see what other Indians are doing. I'm usually not on Facebook and all that type of stuff until that COVID. So I've been kind of seeing where all the Indians are at because I'm missing you guys.
Yeah, I think we're all missing each other. Hey, Dallin, how's it been since you were on? What's new?
Not a whole lot new. I did have to go back up to Wind River last week for a funeral, so that's a little new. It was COVID-related deaths, so that's not fun news. But it's sort of it was one of my aunties. She lived a long life. She was in a home though because she had some Alzheimer issues and things. But you just wonder and you get angry about trying to reconcile those feelings of, well, how much longer would we have had with her? She was one of the ones who, she taught us how to do traditional hoof bags, my brother and I, and now my son does them. It's kind of not a lost art, but there's not too many people doing them still. So they're kind of a container, similar to a rawhide container, a cylinder case, cylinder shape, beaded lids, but they were done out of hooves, antelope, elk, deer. That's kind of good news I have.
But you're doing okay.
Oh yeah, it's Groundhog Day over here. Get up and work and do the stuff you do at night, and then do it all over again.
Yeah. It's getting a little stir crazy for me. I don't know about some of you. Hey, Lance, were you on when Dallin was a guest?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you have any leftover questions for him? Since you both are on together?
Talking about I can't even pronounce that word.
Talking about Indian stuff?
Yeah, with the masks and all that type of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he had that one gas mask. I see it behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool piece.
Is there a way to add old seeds to those types of taking things back? For example, over at MHA, they found a cache of seeds.
Yeah.
And I don't know who it was, but somebody took the seeds and started selling it, as those traditional seeds, but making money off of them. So, are there kind of things that they kind of, or have you run into those types of things, or is there ways to I guess get those seeds, not necessarily get those seeds back, but kind of claim ownership of them? I was talking to my father earlier about it, and he had an idea of patenting those seeds as a way to claim ownership, so to speak, just so another way to kind of combat the GMO pollution type ways that might cross over in some of these traditional corns.
Right. I don't know. That might be an issue for some kind of, NARF hosted a series of intellectual property conversations not too long ago, I think last month. That might be an interesting topic to address because, there's that realm of what has been around forever so long. everybody's using it, so nobody really owns it anymore. But
Yeah.
again, you see people like Monsanto patenting certain genetic profiles of seeds and things like that.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to have.
So maybe owning a seed that doesn't exist anymore,
That
there's
very
one
well
of a kind, could be considered, hey, this is patentable because it's a one-off or one of a kind.
yeah.
Because I know that's how Monsanto gets away with it, is that they change the genetic makeup and then they own the genetic makeup because of that. So I don't know. It's an interesting topic, though. It is interesting, Lance.
You'd have to
Yeah.
get the profile done and then kind of see what's out there. There's got to be
Because
smart
they're
guys working on that, though.
Monsanto's suing people because they're contaminating their fields, and those fields that aren't Monsanto fields but are contaminated with Monsanto's DNA, so to speak, are being sued because they have Monsanto on their fields, but they don't purchase Monsanto.
Right.
Yeah.
so odd. So we have another guest in the back room here, and I'm going to bring him up.
See how filled up we can get there, Roy? What do you think?
Yeah. We have Vance Black Fox coming in. Hey, Vance, welcome.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Vance. Hey, Vance.
Hi, sorry, I'm outside. I'm just taking a break from my hike today, and thought I'd jump on and say hello to everybody.
Yeah,
Oh,
great.
Tell
Great.
us a little about yourself and where you're from.
Well,
Well,
hey, Roy,
yeah.
you missed Vance. Hold on, Vance. Roy,
Mhm.
you missed Vance. You
Okay.
missed Vance because you were traveling out there. So Vance was a couple of weeks ago on and is from National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition as their comms director, and is in Texas right now. Are you in
Yeah,
Texas?
I'm in Texas. I'm reporting live from Hillview Trail in Eisenhower Park in the western edge of San Antonio.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's good to be here.
Well, welcome to the Talking Circle.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is really cool. We were talking about intellectual property as to seeds, and I know there's a lot of heirloom seed work happening in Indian country. We've got at the Repatriation Conference, our keynote speakers are Shannon Martin and Sonia Adelaide, and they've been on the show before, and they're talking about rematriation, so returning seeds that are coming from anthropological and other archaeological sites and what have you. And the concern with making something intellectual property, patenting it or copywriting something in Indian country is that patent and that copyright ends after a certain period of time, right? Dallin, it's like a 75-year term, and then it's open public, stuff. Anybody can do whatever they want with it, and so I think there's a lot of indigenous people's work going on around the world trying to figure out how you keep a hold of traditional ecological knowledge, like seeds and heirloom seeds and what to do with them and how to grow with them, because it's not just about the seed, but it's also about how you take care of the seed and what have you. So it's a really complicated issue, and a lot of people are starting to get into that now. NARF has been really great on those issues. And Vance, I think it might talk to us about that bill I mentioned. I had mentioned the Holland bill a little bit, Vance.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful new day. We thought that this bill that was introduced by Representative Holland and Senator Warren, of course, endorsed by many Native organizations and some tribes, some tribal nations, would be on down the road sometime. And then here we are in 2020 instead of, say, 2030, looking at the possibility. Now, we all know that when new bills are introduced, sometimes they just don't make it all the way through. And they have to gain some traction over time still. But to have advocates like Holland and Warren and others in place to begin this conversation for us on the national level is incredible. And so we're just really grateful and excited about the possibility and what could be happening in regard to folks paying more attention to the genocidal acts, especially related to upon Native people, especially related to boarding school policy adoption and such. And of course, there'll be a lot of other things that will be discussed alongside that should this bill make it through.
Yeah, and it's likely won't, from what I understand, in this congressional session. But there's strong hopes for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. And too, one of the things that we're really also thankful for at the Boarding School Healing Coalition is the opportunity to really embrace the language around healing. I think a lot of folks have been using that language, but we, I think, and along with some others, really mean it. And other folks are claiming that it's just the word of the day, but it cannot be the word of the day. It has to be the center of how we journey forward. And so we're really excited that Christine, our CEO, Christine Dean-Ducey-McCleve, was able to be a part of those conversations to really push for the usage of the healing language versus reconciliation. And there are a variety of reasons why we who work in that area think that reconciliation just isn't quite the right word for us here in the United States. One being that, what is there to reconcile if we weren't conciliatory to begin with? Just to play on semantics. But then also, for some of us, reconciliation, as we review it, and how it's played itself out in other countries, while there's been a lot of great work and a lot of great strides, kind of sets us up for failure. We never really quite reach that. But healing may never be finished for some people, certainly healing and how we engage with one another can certainly happen. And while it's an ongoing process, it's a process that maybe make more sense to those of us and folks can embrace a little better than this big word reconciliation.
And it's called the Truth and Healing Commission, right?
Yes, Healing Policy and Commission in relation to Indian boarding schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's so cool. It's so powerful.
It is.
So, UFOs.
What? 180?
Good transition.
I don't know how
That was a clean one right there.
I don't know how many times since Dallin's interview where UFOs keep popping up now. Like I'm running across things on TV, and someone else was saying, "Man, we need a show about UFOs in Indian country." I don't know. So now that Dallin's on, we've got to have some conversation about aliens. And we also, I think, need to not take ourselves too seriously tonight too much. So
when do we ever?
And
the Sky Brothers.
That's right.
The Sky Brothers. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different stories, except I can't stand that guy on Ancient Alien with the hair. He's got like black hair that kind of, that guy.
Succulose. His name's Succulose.
Yeah, Succulose. Yeah.
I dig it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
There's no credibility there, man.
Full disclosure, I am a bit of a conspiracy theorist, if it makes sense.
Gotta have fun somewhere, right?
Well, trying to reconcile, our own creation stories and our origin stories of coming from the sky. I mean, we could call ourselves the sky people on the Arapaho side. And so, it gets me mad when they start talking on Ancient Aliens about how they couldn't have possibly got assistance from aliens. Yeah, I don't think they're not giving us enough credit, right? Yeah. All these relatives who are around and had to solve these problems in real time and with the things they had on hand. But I don't doubt that somehow, I don't know how much you want this to bleed into religion, but I got some strong feelings.
We've got Vance here. Vance can help us with that part.
But I have this theory, interestingly, that if there are more intelligent beings in the universe who are essentially functioning like God figures who are guiding us and directing us and assisting us, because we're just babies when it comes to the universal timeline of things and what we understand. That somehow they're bleeding information through like movies and pop culture, so that at a time when things are revealed, we won't be so afraid and want to just kill it. So we'll say,
Go
"Oh
for
wait,
the
I
eyeballs."
recognize those gray beings. That's not so scary if they are as benevolent."
Hey cousin, it's good to see you, cousin.
Exactly. And I was a philosopher. I actually got a degree in philosophy, not like I said before, not because it was super compelling, but it's the fastest way out of undergrad. And so we actually talked about a lot of these philosophical ideas of who we are and our place in the universe, and how origin stories fit into that understanding of our identity and place. But I've heard too many stories. I've seen a few kind of crazy things. And even now, there's been this unfolding of evidence, right? People really laugh about Trump's Space Force, right? Now, if that concept within the realm of fantasy, and if it had come from any other president, probably, I think people would have raised their eyebrows a little bit more and said, huh.
Mhm.
But because it's 45, everybody's like, what? Scratching their heads a little bit. But what it tells people in the community is that there's more that they know than they're letting on, and so much that they decided to invest some real federal dollars to this thing just to kind of vet it out in the case. And interestingly, I'm not going to say who it was, but we had somebody working with us for the summer who's her husband, a career military. And I was kind of just floating some of these ideas at her, oh, you're in the Air Force. Okay. Well, let's talk about this Space Force. What I think it is just kind of a series of advisors from all the military branches who can kind of consult and look at the evidence and the stories and, not necessarily confirm things, but just in case, quote unquote, have a plan that makes sense and can actually be fundable and defensible in the eventuality that we do need some kind of strategy to combat something that's beyond this world. And she's like, no, that's exactly what it is. That's all it is right now. It's just different advisors from the military who are now tasked with other when it comes to the Space Force. I was like, well, let me know when they get uniforms, because I want one of those patches. That'd be pretty cool.
Though I will say, it's a little, I don't know, maybe it's not funny. Maybe I can't think of the word, but we lost a pandemic task force and got a space task force. I'll trade back.
Yeah, we should trade back. It's fucking terrible. Although I do have an interesting story to kick this off, and this is from a native Air Force career military, 22 years before he retired. Down in White Sands, there's a shortcut. You can either cut across the base, but you have to have special clearance, special permission, and he had it. Or you drive the long way. But when you drive across, they literally sign you in, clock your time, and then at the next checkpoint, they make sure that you're not messing around out there and that you're arriving within a reasonable window, or else you get in a lot of trouble. So he was tasked with driving across base, and the guard at the first checkpoint said, okay, you're due at the second checkpoint by X amount of time. If you see anything, don't stop. You're going to see some maneuvering out there. Don't worry about it. This is all pretty classified. So he's like, okay. So he's driving along. He said out of nowhere, he got overtaken by 3 black SUVs and 2 Humvees flying out of the desert, come in behind him and just passed him. He's like, what the heck? So they disappear down the horizon. And off in the distance, he sees this metallic sphere, right? This orb. So it was about 10 meters across. So it wasn't huge, but it wasn't small. No seams, no exhaust, and it was hovering about 60 feet off the desert floor. And he's getting closer and it's getting bigger. And he's like, what the heck is that? Some kind of balloon or something? And he got closer and closer to the point where he was, because this was only 200 yards away from when he saw it from the road. He literally stopped and got out and didn't even notice the SUVs pulling up behind him. And they were like, "Soldier, get in your vehicle and get to the next checkpoint." He's like, "You guys looking at this thing? What is this thing?" And like, "Get in your vehicle and get to the next checkpoint." And then all of a sudden, that thing, without any noise, starts disappearing across the horizon at a pretty fast clip. And he just got in his vehicle, went to the next checkpoint, and kept on his way. But he's like, "I don't know if it was a UFO, but I couldn't explain it. I've never seen anything like it. And I've been in the Air Force for 20 years. He's seen a lot of different stuff." So, that's crazy. Now, personal experience, I used to live and work on the Utah-Nevada border. And one day and there's nothing between Wendover and the small tribal community I was working at, just desert and Deep Creek mountain range. And I saw this flash of like metallic something just zipping across the floor, probably, I don't know, halfway up the mountainsides, but in the valley, just flying across the floor. And it made me stop my vehicle and just watch it as it went out of sight. And then a day later, this vehicle pulls up in front of my house on the main drag there. And the guy's taking a photo of the vehicle. So I walk outside and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he pulls out some credentials and he's like, "I'm from the government. We still run stuff on these valleys but we need to know who's actually living out here, not know who they are, but if places are habitable, because we can see them from satellite, but we don't often know if they're abandoned. So we just take photos to prove that there's people living out here." It's like, "Well, you're on Indian territory and you really should have permission to be coming out here."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I did see something the other day and it flashed through the valley. It was metallic and it was very thin and it went through the valley in a second." And he's like, "Huh, you saw that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, I could see him thinking, and he's like, "Oh, well, we do missile tests, and maybe you saw one of the missiles that would have looked like a big metallic telephone pole flying in the air." And I was like, "Why are you guys running missile tests through the valley where there's 600, 400 people living out here?" He's like, "Well, that's just it. We often don't know who's living out there, so we just kind of run them through." Now, I'm not saying that was a UFO, but it also sounded a little funny, like a weird explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then he pulled out a pen and said, "Stare at this for me a minute, would you please?"
He was wearing like jeans and a black shirt.
He wasn't wearing black, was he?
That would have been something.
Yeah. Well, it's getting dark out here, and y'all are scaring me. So I'm only halfway through my trail, so I got to get going before they start showing up, because they start getting here. So I'm right by Camp Bullis also, which is a big military installment here in San Antonio. So I'm out. It's good to see you all.
Poor Vance.
Thanks for letting me hang out.
Thanks for joining, Vance.
Nice
to you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah.
Dang, didn't mean to scare off Lance.
Vance, he's in Texas.
I'm out of here. Ancient aliens, I'm out of here. He tried to bring the conversation in. He was like, "Okay, let's talk about the," and it went ancient aliens on him. So I think that the whole ancient aliens program is just a way for the Europeans to try and justify the fact that Stonehenge sucks so bad compared to the pyramids and what goes on in South America. I really think that's it. They're always talking about how aliens helped the brown people build all the cool stuff, and then they show Stonehenge and they go, "Well, this is what we got."
Exactly.
And think about it. Look at their, the ancient aliens always going on about the South American pyramids and the Egyptian pyramids and all these things and all of these really intricate, well-built structures that couldn't possibly have been built by human hands. And they kind of shy away from Stonehenge. Every once in a while they'll show it, and then they'll go off it and get back on the other topics.
Yeah.
Hey, we got We got another pop in, Roy.
Look who it is. It's our old buddy Levi. What's happening, Levi? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. How's everyone tonight?
Yeah.
Good.
Hi, Shannon.
Hey there. Were you listening to our ancient aliens discussion?
No, I'm really sorry. It wasn't. It's been one of those days.
There might be some independent reporting opportunities.
Okay.
with the
Let me get my
ancient
pen and
alien
pencil.
stories. Just talk to Dallin. He's over here.
Hey, Dallin, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Good. You too.
And then Lance is one of our all-time favorite fans here joining us.
Hi, Lance. How are you?
And
Pretty good. How about you?
Lance represents all but 3 of the 474 recognized tribes. He is almost every Indian.
He's our chat room warrior, is what he is. He's
Yes,
one of
he
those.
is.
All right. That's cool.
What's
Keep the
going
ball
on,
rolling.
Levi?
Well, it's just been a hectic week. Covering the news is always hectic, but with the debates last week the debate and with the president getting COVID, and I've been working on a story. William Barr was at the Cherokee Nation last week, the Attorney General,
That's what we
and
talked about in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, we were
Yes.
talking about that. Yeah.
and I got word today that the leadership has been tested, and they're so far been negative. So that's good news.
Good.
Cherokee Nation. So
Good
Yeah.
news.
It's risky stuff.
Yeah, it is.
yeah, and I understand the president took a motorcade out into the streets of Bethesda today and was riding around, and several legal or medical experts are just aghast that he would leave his hospital room and do that to politics, so to campaign. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, this happened earlier this afternoon, apparently.
What did he do? Just drove around and then went back to the hospital?
Apparently, yes. He's just, he needs his crowd to please him. So
Oh, that's right. They're all gathered outside that place.
they were gathered outside, so he gave them a little. Yes,
My people.
yes.
Breathe on them or cough on them.
Oh man, it's hard. It's hard when he's literally probably the first major leader who doesn't take any advice from any sort of.
Anything.
I think that's one of the first measures of a great leader is somebody who realizes how little they know and how much can be had by having the strength of powerful people around you with advice and
Especially in this country with the wisdom and the high value people that are available to the president of the United States. I mean, why wouldn't you surround yourself with the smartest and the best and the brightest? I mean, it's just a show of how unintelligent his leadership abilities really are. I mean, every smart person knows they need to surround themselves with smarter people.
Exactly. It's classic sign
Even
of
shaping it to
narcissism.
a disaster response. That's one thing they don't add it to, is seeing it as a disaster, as a federal disaster. Just because my background or one of my jobs, I used to work with the Red Cross as a national disaster responder, and just by saying it's a federal response, you get all sorts of nonprofits and other agencies able to work together and to combat this virus on a huge, way bigger scale than it is today. I mean, it's barely. I mean, he's leaving up to the states to decide what to do, and then when the states buy supplies, FEMA comes in and takes those supplies and then asks, "Hey, you're gonna pay us some more to get those supplies that you just ordered." So just a lot of things that drives me nuts, just having that background.
That really worked out negatively against the tribes during COVID when they were looking for the PPEs, and they were literally. I talked to some tribal leadership who said that they were competing with states, and the states with the most money were winning. It was like a bidding war, and
states were competing with the Fed.
Yeah, and it was just crazy. It was just crazy. So
chaos.
I had a question. if it's a sovereign nations, is it a ability to trade on a global scale or to get those supplies going past the U.S. As a taking out the middleman, so to speak?
That would be in the treaties, though. I mean, and of course, they would expect Indian nations to uphold the treaties, but of course, the Fed doesn't have to. But I'm sure that each tribe has their own individual treaties. I mean, I'm probably not the one on this panel to speak about that, but yeah, I would imagine that Shannon.
There are some tribes that have foreign trade zones. Right. And I don't know a whole lot of detail about how that works. But it's kind of like, you think about it, the airport, if you're taking some international travel and you can go purchase things without taxes on them, it's kind of like that. Without the same federal or state regulation because it's international trade. But I don't have it is a very good question. Tweety said that's a good question.
Or maybe just do it and then see what happens after that.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, that's what the states
that's how a lot of Indian laws made.
Individual states actually had to do that. They went and negotiated with foreign entities to actually get their PPE. And in some cases, the Fed intervened and robbed them of those resources or put freezes on those resources as they were delivered. But there were actually covert operations being conducted by states to get PPE in underneath government agencies. So it's been a mess. It's been chaos.
It has been very chaotic, and that's unfortunate. And I just think that I hope that people get past their feelings and start dealing with facts when it comes to this coming election.
Yeah, for sure.
It started. I mean, it's already here. So get out there and vote, folks.
Yeah, there was an article just recently, I think in the last couple of days, I forget who put it out. It might have been yours, Levi, about how much the native vote really does count. And there have been some positive cases that have supported voting in different states when it comes to, Indians being able to get their ballots delivered by someone else besides themselves and some other issues that have been problematic in different states. I don't know, Levi, do you have any updated news on any of the voting stuff going on?
Well, there are the 4 directions, and that's a American Indian advocacy group that deals with getting Indian country to the ballot, to the voting booths. They've identified 7 states where by coincidence, basically they're swing states now that native vote really does make a difference. And that would be North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nevada, Arizona, and Colorado, those 7 states. So I just think it's and I think in some of those states, there's some competitive Senate races. I know here in Michigan, there's real competitive, although I think Gary Peters, in all probability, will win. But McSally's in trouble out in Arizona. Mark Kelly, the astronaut, former astronaut, is running a very, very. And Dallin, you're in Arizona, aren't you?
No, I'm actually in Colorado now with.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah. And we talk quite a bit about voting rights because we've got 5 or 6 cases that we're working on.
That's right.
It is frustrating because a lot of it can seem, because of the redistricting, that representation is futile on or around Indian territories just because of the redistricting. They've divided and chopped up those votes. So when it comes to a very local or even sometimes a state level, it doesn't make much of a difference. But that's kind of the next phase after this election, is really start tackling some of those gerrymandering and redistricting issues. But when it comes to the national level, to Senate representation, to House representation, some of those cases, absolutely, a few thousand native votes can make a difference.
Yeah. And awesome. And I want to bring up something that our friend Wabanaki has said, because I just had a conversation with a friend of mine at Onondaga. And I said, so you're going to vote this year? Because they never vote. They don't vote in any elections because they're sovereign. Why would you vote in another government's election if you're a sovereign nation, which is a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'd really like to hear from folks about what they think about this, because I feel my opinion is that I absolutely agree with you, but this time, please freaking vote.
It does mean something then. You know what I'm saying? Because when it comes down to it, you just said, I understand the feelings, especially with what Wabanaki's saying, is that, hey, look, 500 years of oppression, why? Why be part of that system? Well, bottom line is, you just said it. It's important, and it is important because things are changing, and there's more of us. And when I say us, I'm talking about empathetic human beings. I'm talking about human beings that actually care. They give a shit about other human beings and other cultures and diversity and all of those things that this country is supposed to stand for, and what Indian country itself stands for, period, end of story. So if we don't, the many of us don't come together and get rid of this 20 to 30% that has taken over our country with, like what Dallin was talking about, gerrymandering. The gerrymandering has split us all up, has split up Indian country, has split up all of the masses of people who believe in the same way that we believe. So a small sect of people have taken control of the voting rights of the people, have taken control of how legislation is processed and how it is spread across all of us. And then they've done things like created a situation where they can take over our courts. And that's what they've been doing for these last 4 years, is taking over the courts because they know they're in their death throes. That 25 to 30% of the people can no longer hold power, and they're losing it. And that's what we're seeing right now, is the death throes of that. And if we don't come together, all of the masses of us don't come together, because there's more of us than there are of them. If we don't come together and start changing things and getting things pushed back over to our side so that we can have conversations about sovereignty, so that we can have conversations about repatriation, so that we can have conversations about how to federally recognize some of these tribes have been sitting there waiting for decades to try and get themselves recognized so that they can try and build a nation on their own. If we don't do that, if we don't come together, if we don't vote, then we're going to continue to lose ground. And that's why this is so important, because if we sit back and we don't do anything, then we are not going to be able to do anything.
And I would respond that the reality is we are dual citizens. I've always seen myself as a dual citizen. I am subject to the IRS taxes, correct, every single year. Right. We have to file our taxes. As long as I'm going to file taxes, I'm going to vote. As long as I have a vote, I think my voice needs to be heard. And I think that it's not to say that I should not be voting in my tribal elections, because I do. But I think it's a very unique situation, and being dual citizen of both the United States and, in my case, the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, I feel very honored every time I vote in either of those elections, whether it's you can call it the white man's election or you want to call it our tribal election. I think it's really incumbent on us. And it's really important that we take both things seriously. And as I said, it goes right back to taxes. Years ago, I made testimony for a state Senate committee here in Michigan, and it was about casinos. And I'm talking, this goes back to the 90s. And I started talking about our sovereign rights, this, that, and the other. And the state senator got really upset. He got really red in his face, and he called me back to the podium. And he said, "Young man," and I was a lot younger there, I was in the 90s. He said, "I have a question for you. Do you consider yourself a citizen of the United States?" And I had a little crowd behind me of about 15 Native people. And I said, "I know the IRS does." And everybody laughed, but it's the truth. And I go back to that we are taxed. And, the reality is my tribe doesn't tax me because they don't have the power. But as long as I'm going to be paying taxes in the United States system, I'm going to vote in the United States system, as long as I have that right. So,
and as long as that they have control over you too, they govern over you. Period.
Correct.
Story. So you should have a voice in that. And if they're allowing you to have a voice in that, which a lot of other countries around the world don't allow you to have that ability to do so. And even though it is a fixed, rigged, very difficult to make your vote matter system, you have to participate in some way, some manner to what little bit you do have. Gray gently put something up. I'm gonna flash it real quick. It says Trumpery means deception, fraud, and trickery. Is Trump a trickster? I think it's like all definition of trickster, but I looked it up myself, and what trumpery really means, and this is crazy. If you look in the dictionary at trumpery, it means showy but worthless.
Wow.
What it says in the dictionary. Showy but worthless.
I asked that Shiner Apple guy, how you say fork tongue?
You know what's interesting?
Get to use that.
I just have some thoughts to follow up. It's about the perception of power, right? If Trump arguably has power because of his wealth and this weird machismo that put him in the place where he is, well, how do the rest of us gain that power without wealth or without that sort of amoral compass that he shows off? And more than anything, I think it really revealed an underbelly to America that is replete with just power grabs and racism and marginalized communities and minority groups. And what are we left with, right? The real power, the only power that we may have in the absence of extreme wealth or whatever, or a history of like the Kennedy family of politics and leadership in America, or the Bush dynasty, it's our vote. And you may say, well, what is my singular vote going to do? Well, that may be true, but couple that with a few thousand of your tribal community members, and how much stronger is that vote? And once you move outside of the idea that it doesn't matter, look how far we've gotten with just a few representatives in the House.
That's true.
Holland, they're making waves.
Yes.
In the face of just a storm of idiocy and patrimony. What happens when that House is reflective of each minority group? Let's say 32% are Hispanic. Let's say even 5% are Native. What kind of inroads, what kind of power will that patriarchy have then? It won't. So we can either give up our power now, or we can lay some foundations for those next generations in the hopes that, like you said, and it's not just the Republicans, it's anybody whose morals are displaced, right? Who value wealth over empathy and sympathy and just taking care of each other as a member of the human race.
Exactly.
They're death throes. They're gasping for air.
They are.
They're shamelessly doing whatever they can to hang on to that power, because there is a groundswell of activism, of youth who have seen something better. And it's just a glimpse, right? To us who've done a little while, we're still on the fence. It's fucking hopeless. Well, no, there's something happening, right?
There's something happening.
There is something happening. Now, where are we going to be in 10 years from now? Where are we going to be in 20 years from now? I hope it's not the same place we are now. But if we don't vote, if we got to think about the future.
And it's got to be an overwhelming win right now, because what they've created over the last 2 decades is a system that allows them to steal it if it's close. If it's close, they can steal it. And that's what they've been doing. They did that with Bush v. Gore. They did that with this whole thing with Clintons and Trump. The last battle they had. If it's close, they can steal it or they can influence it. If we come out, like I said, I keep saying this, there's more of us than there are of them. but we're also diverse in our opinions, and some of us will sit back and say, no, screw it, no, they're not, they're still not good enough for me. And then some of us will be screaming at the rooftops, no, you don't understand, we've got to vote, we've got to get, you know, the masses to take this away from them so that they can't steal it from us, because that 25 to 35% of people out there that are in their death throes, they have set it up so that they can steal it if you don't overwhelmingly come out and vote. So their whole plan and tactic is, let's get people to just sit back and lay back and say, fuck it, I'm not going to vote. You know, I don't care. I don't like either one of them. This whole thing about, oh, they're just both as wicked and evil as each other. No, that's not the truth. It's not the truth. Yes. Does it need to the current nominee, does he need to change also? Yes, he does, but it's never going to go anywhere if he doesn't win.
That's true.
We're not going to be able to start changing things in the right direction and moving it towards, like what Dallin was just saying. There are some changes being made. There are some people, you know, blowing the winds of change inside the houses out there. And what would happen if we did overwhelm it? What would happen if we did get more people in? It's you've got to start with something small. You're not just going to change everything overnight, you know?
Yeah, but Roy, there is, and I know a lot of folks like Wabanaki and who express the same things as what Wabanaki is saying. You know, there's this real deep sense of just being completely ignored,
And that's what they want.
violated.
Exactly. They'll give up.
Exactly. It's a way to kind of dispossess us from any ability to make any decisions to be a part of what's going on. But this is still a real feeling in Indian country.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But that's not how you combat it. Letting them win is not how you combat it. That's not how it goes. Unfortunately,
but I don't know that argument that you're making has a lot of convincing power to people who generation after generation have felt.
And that's why they're winning.
Yes, but I still don't think that reaches the argument deep enough to those people whose family after family, generation after generation, have decided not to participate in elections because they were forced to be citizens without their consent. So why would they participate? So I think we have to look a little deeper to figure out how to really talk about this issue in Indian country, because what I've seen in Indian country where tribes have chose not to participate in federal or federal discussions or state discussions is that they lose money. They've lost all sorts of voice. The government doesn't even know they exist or that consultation is necessary, because we've never heard from that tribe before. Who there's tribes in upstate New York. What? You know, and so I think we've got to hit it at another place. I just don't know what it is.
Well, we don't have time right now. We don't have time. We're in the middle of an election.
Maybe one link is to kind of see what the repercussions of what that party will put in place, like in the DOI, Department of Interior, or BIA, because some of these people just don't have any clue what that tribal sovereignty means and how that relates as a governmental relationship. So, for example, like the DOI, you know, pushes down towards BIA, and they changed the Indian probate laws to those individual Indian landowners. And those little changes and tweaks that they have is, you know, I don't have to notify, say if I'm making changes to a particular land that an individual Indian has, and I can just not even notify you. Or probate that judges that already made laws in previous families that have passed, they're just going to take that and change it after that judge already made that ruling that it goes to this family. So just quick little changes that they do really under a lot of the bills that they do sign on both sides sometimes, and all the times. I guess that's how it kind of works. Just as paying attention to who is going to be that person ahead of DOI or Department of Interior, and how that relates to Indian land, and how that does shape and affects Indians altogether. And just the sheer effort of other Indians trying to protect that vote. I know Montana did something just to protect those rural communities, along with those tribal members, to get their vote to those voting places because it's so far away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and again, going back to disaster relief, paying attention to who's gonna sign it off quickly. So like when it was under Obama, when something happened in Indian country, Indians can bypass the state and just go directly to the president, in which it can benefit the state to respond to disasters quicker, just because they're pulling PEMA in to that state to help Indians and non-Indians that surround them. So there's always that interconnection that's always going to be in place with the U.S. government dealing with tribes, and tribes dealing with the U.S. government. Because it always kind of goes back to how we're seeing it as of course, they've seen it before. How I see it as is like, this is exactly how Custer did it. This is exactly, at least his approach, his mindset. A lot of the characteristics of Custer was literally, he had no ears. So at the end of the Little Bighorn, instead of doing stuff to his body, scalping him, he wasn't even worth the scalp. But what they did was stick an awl in his ear so he can hear on that other side. So even then, they're telling him, "I'm going to help you, even despite the fact that you're arrogant, you're acting like a fool." And that's how some of those tribal languages translate. Some of those Europeans are very young, so it's almost like we're almost obligated to take care of our younger brothers because their culture is so youthful. And going to Vandalorian Jr., those Europeans are just missing that element that they used to have in their culture, and they just as a way to explain how they latch on to the Indian culture, even though it's watered down and they look ridiculous in their mascot gear, they're lost. So just my experience with Sundances or with Europeans, watching us, or even having them participate in some essential elements within the culture that they don't get from the U.S. So like veterans, sometimes those veterans are a very important element to that Sundance. And sometimes we don't have enough veterans to complete some of those ceremonies. So some of those veterans that happen to be Europeans, Anglos, or whatever have you, come and participate. And sometimes you get to see them, really cry, express out, because they're, we're honoring them, which of course the U.S. has totally forgotten. And you hear amazing stories, and people are they're grateful that they get to say this, and sometimes they never heard this before. So Indians, tribal government, U.S. government, it's always we're bound together.
We lost them.
Hey,
all right, we lost you. Come back on.
Back on. Welcome, JD.
Yeah, JD's on.
You look like you're in your shower, though.
Privacy
You're
glass.
looking good, JD.
Wants to remain anonymous.
Are you trying to go incognito on us or what?
Oh yeah. After I talk to you guys on this one, I'll let you guys say. But Levi looked like he was getting ready to say something.
Well, I do want to say this, that and I think is important this election. A couple things really. One, during the Democratic National Convention, they had the Native American Caucus, and it was a Facebook Live. In the second day of that, it was actually the Thursday of the week of the convention week. I think it was 10,800 people signed on. That's an incredible amount of Native people signing on to a Native American caucus, which to me is a sign that this election, our people really are paying attention. And I understand that. And years ago, I ran for office here in Michigan, and I did not win, but I would get approached by Native people in my community and say, who've known me basically my whole life, and said, why are you participating in the white man's politics? Why are you selling out to colonialism? And see, I never saw it as really selling out. I think that we have to hold them accountable. Now, it's like when a man or a woman, whoever the case may be, you're dating, you're not ever going to find the perfect person, because I'm not sure there's a perfect person on this earth. But with that, I'll say there's no perfect candidate. But I will say this: we have got to find that person who aligns closest to what our needs are, our desires are. And in this case, for instance, in Brian Newland, who's chairman of the Bay Mills Indian community up here in Michigan, he was on a Zoom call the other week, and he said something very profound. And he came out of the Obama administration. He worked at the Department of the Interior, Indian Affairs, and he said that we really need to hold. We just assume Joe Biden's going to win. We know that President Trump has not allowed, he has not held the tribal national conferences. And Aaron Payment would love to see it taken up to the summit level, and I'm not quite sure. Shannon may know, but I don't know what the difference really is between a summit and a conference. But what Brian Newland said was, when he was working for the administration, every single year, they knew they could not go there empty-handed. They could not show up at the White House tribal conference and say, well, thanks for coming back, tribal leaders, and what have we accomplished this year? Same as last year. He said, no, they were just saying, we've got to deliver some deliverables, if you can say it that way, once we get to that conference and say, we've done X, Y, Z, and you can hold us accountable. And I think that's really an important point, because Vice President Biden has already committed to reinstituting what the Obama administration held for 8 years, those tribal conferences. And as I said, Aaron Payment would like to see it taken up to the summit level. And Shannon, maybe you know the difference. I'm not quite sure I really know what the difference between a tribal conference versus a summit, a White House summit versus a conference. However, I think it is pretty unique that President Obama, and he was far from perfect, and I said there's no perfect candidate, but he did allow us, our tribal leaders, to come into Washington, D.C. every single year for 8 years in a row, and he heard us, and they delivered certain things. And there were things that happened, and it could be argued that the Obama administration is probably, besides Nixon, is one of the most productive in our lifetimes in terms of delivering things to Indian country. And he did a lot of settlements that a lot of people didn't even realize, and a lot of infrastructure type things within the DIA that a lot of Native people don't even recognize. But he really was, and I think there were some strong people there trying to hold him accountable. And so with that, I would say we've got to put the press on and hold our candidates accountable. And I've tried to reach out as Native News Online to the Trump campaign several times, no response. Biden campaign, I get response from them. So that, to me, that tells me a big difference. There's a big difference.
Yeah. Hey,
It may
JD.
not be the difference that we're all looking for or that we all aspire to see, but it's a difference. And we've got to move that direction. There is no other choice. There is no alternative. The alternative is to sit back and let the evil side and the side that we don't want to win. And that's what I'm trying to get at, is that, yes, we have a shit show for a choice at this point, but that shit show is better than, the destruction of everything. I don't think that this country can survive another 4 years. And then I don't think we want to see what comes out of what this, administration could do with another 4 years.
And Roy, and that's why I tried a couple times to get on, just so everybody knows. So if I end up getting kicked off, just know that, okay?
I do.
But now what I'm going to share with everybody, and I don't know if I should do this publicly, but the way it is, but you'll find out there's a reason I got this tape on. Is everybody here? Do you guys remember when our president said he was going to build a wall around Colorado?
Yes, I remember that.
Yep. And people laughed. And it's like, that guy's smarter than what people think. Everybody thinks he's dumb, but he ain't dumb. If you remember back when they tried to secede a little bit ago, and if you look at the 2018, a state representative and also a county commissioner brought it up. In 2018, they brought the secession up again. Now, I only knew of 5 counties that were going to secede, but the newspaper said there were 17, so I don't know. But so when you consider this secession that was going to go there, you think, okay, that's it. But then you consider, okay, 2018, they brought it up again. And then my next thing is, where did the second most powerful man in the world, I mean, we could, argue whether the vice president's powerful or not, but where did he come? He came to Windsor. He actually didn't come to Windsor because they called him out. He actually had to go back, but his wife came right here. When Trump said that, build a wall, he knew what he was saying. Everybody thought it was a joke, and that's the thing is when people see what's actually going on and the people that are within these communities, he's talking to his base. And the thing is, a lot of us of color, we're left out because we're not understanding what that language is. But the thing is, I live right here in amongst them, and that's why, like, a lot of times I don't like to be on this because they know where I live, but I don't want people seeing who I am, because everything I tell people, it's public. It's right there. You don't have to think I'm a liar or whatever, but then it puts me in a hard spot. But I tell people because I think we better be aware. This ain't no game. This guy knows what he's talking about, and he's got his bases behind him. And I can go on a little bit more, but Roy, I'm telling you, you're right on, man. I mean, and Levi, I know we got to keep these people to the fire, keep them going. But I don't know if there's even a chance on this. So this is desperate times. I mean, this really is desperate times. And look at if you don't believe me, look it up. I don't have to say anything, but yeah.
No, I hear what you're saying, JD. It is desperate times, and we I don't think we can survive another 4 of this thing here. I mean, it's going to really send this country into a downward spiral if that be the case. But I know a lot of people are saying, well, hey, let it all implode, and a lot of people kind of like that, let the whole thing implode. And I think that a percentage of those 30% of people that support this guy are actually have that feeling that their lives are so bad, because let's face it, maybe Indian country and poor white America we all have the same issues. We're all having a hard time, finding work to support our families, to put our kids through school. I mean, how many people are middle class anymore? How many people can, work one job and support a family and buy a home and a car and go on vacation? You see less and less and less of that. The American dream, or at least some sense of being able to provide for your family, in some way is falling out of the hands of everyone. And I think that, and then this is just the empathy in me, I think that those people that support him, a lot of them are in despair themselves and are hoping that this guy is going to kind of destroy the system so that it can be rebuilt. I think some of them actually feel that way. And so he's their guy. It's like, we're tired of the status quo. Everybody's tired of the status quo. And this whole thing with the money in politics has been what has done it, because the greed, we spoke about this earlier on the show, the greed, the money that has been put into or that is controlling this country is because of, Citizens United, because corporations have been given personhood and they can vote with their money. And what happens is that puts all of us out. Every one of us here are out of that because we can't vote with our money. Nobody here is rich enough to go up against all of those guys that have the real money. That's just the bottom line. And, 75% of this country aren't rich enough to do that. And that's why we have what we have. So changing that policy, first and foremost, I think, is going to be where we have to start. We have to get the money out of these politics. And Wabanaki said something else, do you really think that he's calling the shots. Come on. You're absolutely right, Wawanaki. He is not calling the shots. However, it's him. It's the damn leader McConnell in the Senate. It's Congress being complicit with all of it. It's all of them. It's all of them continuing to take money from the moneyed interest and using that to legislate with and legislate against all of us, all of the common people, all of of Indian country. They're legislating against us with that money, and we can't combat it. And until we can combat it, until we can break that wall down, until we can get money out of the politics of this nation, none of the nations are going to fare well. We've got to change that first, and it's going to take slow steps into it. But there are more of us than there are of them. Period. End of story. And Levi said it. Hey, he may not be our guy, but he leans in the right direction, and there's people in his ear that are leaning in our direction. And we're going to have to keep leaning it that way until we get it to where we want it, or till it's in a place that it's malleable enough for us to actually influence it and do things like get money out of politics. So, I mean, it's a very crucial time. And thanks, JD. I appreciate you chiming in. Yes, sis.
I want to talk about Indian country, man, because we all know
This is part of it.
Corrupt, but I'm really concerned with.
We try and take, this government's actions out of Indian country because it affects it. No matter how much we sit here and say we want to be sovereign or we're sick and tired of them, they affect us. And if we don't participate in it, we're losing. You're going to continue to lose. So sitting back and saying we can't be part of it is wrong. We are part of it. When I stood as a Marine on that wall, the Caddo Nation didn't give me the opportunity to go out and be a warrior for the Caddo Nation, but the United States government did give me that opportunity to stand out there as a warrior for these people, for this land that I care about, and all of the Native people that I care about. I got to stand on that wall, and that's what I stood on that wall for. And the flag means this nation to me. It doesn't mean white America. It doesn't mean the government. It doesn't mean all of that shit. It means this land that my people have been on for eons. And that's what I stood for. And that's what that flag means to me. It doesn't mean America. It doesn't mean white America. It doesn't mean that government. It means this land to me. That's what that flag means. And that's what I did as a Marine. And I think that it is important that we use that system, that we change that system so that it affects us in the proper way, in the way that we all want it to. Because if we sit back and we don't participate and we call, it's all bullshit, they're going to run over us. They're going to continue to run over us. And they're not going to give us a chance to make this land the way we want it to look.
Oh. So Roy's going to be running for office.
I'd vote for
But I got to give him. I don't know. I want to applaud you, man. I don't know. That was pretty good.
That was good.
Yeah. I ain't lying. Yeah, that was good.
You go, Roy.
No, I just, I grew up with a warrior spirit, and this country gave me the opportunity to do that. But my warrior spirit, my heart has always been with my people, with the Caddo people, with the drum, with the earth, with the land, with the things that we value. It's always been there. So when I did stand out there for this nation, and the bullets flew and the things that happened, I did that in my heart. I was protecting the land of all of the Native people. I was protecting the land that has belonged to us all of these years. And I was protecting the right for all of us to go out there and make this a better place. We can't let them change it. We can't let them take it away from us. We have to continue to fight. And even though we've been losing, ground, we can change it. We still can, but we have to put our focus in the right direction. We cannot lay back and just let them win. We can't. We have to continue to fight. And sometimes that fight doesn't look like we want it to look like. Sometimes we have to take a guy like Joe Biden and say, he's our man, even though inside we may not want to, even though we know that he's not really going to do what we need. We might have to take that battle, that win, and then move forward from there. and continue to make ground. Because sometimes as a Marine, that's what we do. No matter what, sometimes it's called a fighting retreat. We never surrender, but it's called a fighting retreat. You're firing and you're fighting the whole time you're running backwards, and that's what we have to do right now. And we have a new guest. Another
woman about damn time.
Testosterone time is over. We have some more estrogen. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyra Shackleford. Hi, Tyra. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi, Tyra. Where are you joining us from?
I'm at Chickasaw Nation Reservation in Oklahoma.
Hey, that's the tribe I want to defect to, man. I still want to leave Choctaw so many times, and I think there's some Chickasaw in our past as well. I keep saying I gotta defect over to Chickasaw. Y'all have the coolest cultural center and museum and stuff. Got some great people there.
Yeah, I worked there for several years. I love that place.
Yeah. Well, welcome to our and thank you for bringing in your femaleness.
Balance.
Balance. All right, now what are we going to talk about, Roy?
Shannon, what were you continuing on your thought? As just what were you trying to spew out there?
Me spew.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about like bringing more Indian thought, more like helping them kind of maneuver and try to see why they are effective or something like that.
Well, the way I see it is what other country allows another sovereign nation to vote in its elections? See, I think we have a power there that we can take advantage of because we're sovereign nations with the ability to vote in another government's elections. That gives us a hell of a excuse me, because Tyra has her daughter in there. A lot of power. And if we thought about things that way, and if we thought about what our true sovereignty meant, which meant, depending on what tribe you came from, way back in time, there were many of our tribes that were hand in hand with the colonizers and wanting to do business with them and got on board. So all of our tribes did all different things to resist. And some of it was assimilation. Some of it was doing business with the colonizers, and others was to, completely separate. And so I think we need to remember where we came from and also remember how we can leverage the power that we have. But anyway, yeah, that was my thinking.
Awesome.
And I know it really hit me when I started learning because, when I was in college, I was really pissed off all the time. Right, Roy? I'm not like that now, right?
Oh, no, you're not like that anymore.
And, and I used to be so angry and something hit me that, if I'm ever going to do any good, I have to get past that anger about the colonizer, about white supremacy, about being forced to be a citizen of the United States, for which my family and my ancestors didn't really have any part of making, except laying down and allowing the new country to basically build on top of them. So I had to come to a realization, and I learned through our history that, hey, we were participatory in this government. We were helping build this government. We shared with them what we thought democracy was.
Exactly.
We've been part of it since the beginning.
It's a model that they've taken and changed.
Right.
That's what it is. The Congress, the Senate, all of this was a model that they took from Indian people and then started changing it and manipulating it. And
Yeah.
moneyed interests started to say, well, we can do it like this, and then we can have control of it versus the actual people having control of it.
Yeah,
So-
and by understanding and just accepting that we were a part of it and that we were in control of part of it, I think it gives us a different perspective on the power that we have today. Instead of taking the position that, you know, this government did all this stuff to us, you know, I just think that we have a stronger place where we can stand. And if we do it together, I mean, you know,
well, we have to.
yeah, we have to.
And no, who says that Indians have not participated in government? We've always been participatory in government. So we need to participate in this one because it is ours. This is our land. This government rules over our land. We should be participants in it. We should be participating in what's going on here. And it's our duty to actually change that and make sure that it's working for the people and not for moneyed interests or anybody else. Why would we not fight against that?
But Ryan, let me just say this. I think that we have to be careful not to sell out. And I'm gonna use an example of what's going on with the CARES Act funding. There were some sellouts in this administration that really pushed for the ANCs to be included. I've heard some secret maneuvering. Schumer was very shocked that ANCs were even written in. He claims it was not in the final version he saw. And somehow, if you call it the midnight surprise or whatever, it got in there. And I was happy to see a court rejected the idea that ANC should. I think the appeals court was last week we reported on it. And my point is, I think we need to participate. We need to hold them accountable, but at the same time, never sell out our interests as Native people. And by that, our sovereign rights, things that are really, really important to us. And we've all seen people around people who are powerful and you know, they want to get their picture taken with the president or whoever. And, you know, my reality is I don't really care if I get my picture taken with them. That's not what it's about to me. It's about protecting the sovereignty of who we are as Native people, at the same time knowing that we have to participate, because we don't have any other choice. We can talk all day long about, well, let's go elect a Native American. That's just not going to happen. Not in this cycle. But who's to say Deb Haaland doesn't rise to the occasion and 4 years now becomes a vice presidential nominee? We don't know that, because she's pretty powerful. And Sharice Davis is pretty powerful. They have done some really great things for us. And so let's just get real and with our reality, deal with it the best way we can. Hold them accountable, but never be a sellout.
No, never sell out. And that should be, everybody should have that kind of integrity, you know? I mean, that's been a problem in Indian country for eons is the sellout, you know, and it all boils down to greed, you know. And when are we going to cut the people's ability to affect our systems with greed? That's what focus needs to be on, is how do we cut that out? How do we cut the ability? How do we cut money out of this thing? Because as long as money rules, there's always going to be sellouts. There's always going to be sellouts. Mm-hmm. And that's just human nature. Shannon and I were talking about it right before the show. I have to take these assessment tests every once in a while. And when in the sales world, they're always looking for that person that is unempathetic, that can go out and make a kill on the sale. So they're always trying to weed out the personalities. And they do this when they hire for police officers and all kinds of things like that. They try and find those personalities that, you know, lack empathy. And when I look at, you know, my results, I always go, now I forget where I was going with this, but anyway, and it's about people and empathy and not having that greed and not having that gene that allows them to capitalize on other people's misery, you know, and we've just seen that for far too long. And we need more empathetic people in government. We need people that look at the big picture and go, these are the things that need to be changed for the people, not for me or not for my group of people that are supporting me, or, and that's where I think we fall short around here. And in Indian country, we fall short in that, because we see it with tribal governments all the time. Also, it's how does me and my group get ours versus everybody getting some,
Yeah. Hey, let me interrupt the conversation for a minute, because Tyra's been on for a little while. I want to make sure, Tyra, if you had a question or you had another topic or anything, I wanted to make sure that you were included in the conversation or start a new one.
Well, Dallin just talked me into jumping on, so that's why I jumped on.
How much did he pay you? Was there an exchange of artwork?
Yeah, I thought we could talk about some art. She's a very talented weaver and Chickasaw artist.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like, Dallin has it all behind him. Do you have anything you want to share?
No, I have a big piece I'm working on right now for the Smithsonian, but it's a work in progress. I'm not going to show it right now.
Well, that's great. We're glad to have you, and it's always good to know upcoming artists. We have the association was that an animal that I just saw, Grace?
Upcoming. She's building something for the Smithsonian right now. I don't think that's up and coming. I think she's made it.
Yeah, I think, you're absolutely right.
That's about as made it as it gets, right?
Yeah.
He wants the scoop. I want the scoop.
Yeah, I don't brag on myself very much. I'm not good about talking about my art, really. But I do a lot of traditional ancient techniques and bring them into contemporary type of piece. So if you'd like to see my art, go to my website. It's tyrashacklefordartist.com. But I really don't have anything I can show you right now.
Well, if it's all on the site, then we can send people there to look at it.
Absolutely. And oh, cool. Oh, wow. I'm looking at it right now. Should I share it with you guys?
Yeah, share something.
So is this COVID time inspiration?
No, the COVID has really hurt me creatively. It took me about 6 months from March until recently that I didn't work on anything at all. And I think it's just the stress and not being in a good place. And you really have to be in a good place to want to do that type of work.
Start painting angry.
Yeah.
Because I do angry exercises.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Look at that. Oh my gosh. So is this part of the weaving techniques, being able to work with material this way?
Yeah, so that is actually made all by hand. I don't use a loom. That's an ancient lace making technique that you find all over the world, but you do find in North America prior to European contact. And that piece right there is 9 feet tall and 4 feet wide. It's owned by the Idle George Museum, and the Smithsonian commissioned me to make a second one for them. So that's the piece I'm working on right now, actually.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. So everyone, there's information about Tyra. Oh, and you're on Chickasaw TV. And her portfolio is here. Here's some more work. Let's see if I can make it a little bigger.
The next one.
So is this going to be at the Indian Art Museum or someplace?
Yeah, it's going to be an NMAI.
The National Museum of the American Indian, for those of you who...
Is that D.C. or Washington or New York?
I believe it'll be in D.C.
Okay, great.
Love those bracelets.
Thank you.
Wow. So this is why my grandmother likes doilies. They're traditional.
Beautiful. It's very beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
Is that an up and coming artist there alongside Tyra?
Yeah, she tries to play with my strings sometimes.
That's great.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad you joined us. Did you have any questions, or this was all a dare from Dallin?
Yeah, it was down. No, but I enjoy listening to your talks. I've listened a few times.
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mom.
And then, do you work with Dallin? You guys friends? Do you work with?
We're seeing each other. We're dating.
Oh, look at there.
Now we understand.
I needed some backup. I was like, there's very
Now
few
it's
people who
starting to
actually
feel like
back
a
me up. Tyra back me up. She has to.
Cool.
All right. So I'm
Do you
trying to think.
participate in the conspiracy theories? Do you do
Well,
any squatching with them, or do you do any UFOing?
I don't know if I believe in the alien stuff, but I do believe in the Bigfoot stuff.
So the squatch, you're a squatcher then.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, you can't be in Oklahoma and not know about there's squatching going on.
We've got lots of stories down here.
Yeah, yeah. I used to love the stories about the jaguars or the cougars, like the black cats that are still out there, and
Yeah.
the
We
panthers.
still have people that say they see those a few times.
Mm-hmm. And you'd never think it.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Leonard Harjo was on. He's from the Seminole Nation, and he was always telling me stories about the panthers in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
Wow.
lot of grasses to hide.
So, is there a story, Dallin or Tyra, that you want to share with us, or anything, or like how you all met, or was it an Indian country thing, like a work thing, or?
Ask him how we met, because he doesn't remember.
Oh, Dallin.
We were at Indian Market, and I was walking down in front of the La Fonda where the booth was, and I just said hi to her, and she was all surprised that I actually knew who she was. But what kind of director would I be if I didn't know all my artists?
But that was not the first time we met, Dallin.
Oh,
Oh, this is gonna get bad here.
Oh my goodness.
Any other women out there who have men online here who want to join us?
Let me get you off the hook, bro. I'll help you here.
all right.
I'll tell him we were.
You need another transition.
I'll tell him we were at Cherokee Art Market, and Ryan Lee Smith introduced us.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
You told me. Remember? You told me how you met her before.
I remember that.
Trying to hook you up, man.
Did you have anything at Swaya? Because I know they canceled that art thing.
I've been participating in Swaya for 5 or 6 years now, so I did have some online stuff this year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Did you sell them all?
No, but I didn't really try to market myself very well. I know some artists sold a lot, but they were really marketing. I just, back to that COVID and desire to do things right now, I didn't have my heart in it this year.
Yeah. It's hard to get the heart and the energy up right now, and looking into the future, like when this is going to change, it's not looking really great. Yeah.
I think the best thing is just to keep on being healthy as best you can.
Yeah.
It's the proper time to really just take a look at ways to just boost your immunity, your system. That COVID stuff really drops down your vitamin D levels. So kind of things, plenty of sunlight. One thing that does inhibit vitamin D is high fructose corn syrup. So anything, I know we love our sweets, but just dwindle down some of those donuts. You should be all right.
Yeah. My son was actually just tested positive for COVID, so
Oh no.
got all that in our household right now.
Oh wow. So are you having to quarantine him separately? And
He's staying in his room, and when he comes out, I make him wear a mask. So hopefully the rest of us don't get it. But
oh man, that's gotta be hard. Jeez. Well, we wish you the best and good health. I hope he's doing okay though.
so
Yeah.
far, it's not got many symptoms, so we're all right now.
Good.
Send some prayers up for you guys. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't want to send you to the hospital in Oklahoma there.
So how's those Oklahoma guys? Are they still scared of those Indians over there? With all that treaty stuff going on, you're not doing a little threatening them and anytime teasing, saying, "Hey, that's mine." Hey,
Right
you got
now, we're
tax.
just happy to claim our own reservation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's freaking a lot of people out.
Got to pay that Indian tax now. Those Indians pay more tax than Trump.
That's a true statement.
Everybody
Yeah, it's easy to say. I don't think there's one American that pays less than what Trump is.
Well, I'm sure there's some richer ones than him that are paying less.
I was telling my kid when she sells that lemonade, she's a better businessman than he is. Everybody is.
Oh yeah.
Ugh. This has been a really cool show doing this with everybody. I want to invite more people to come on and join us. We can get more people in our little.
We can put more folks on. And it's really good to have the people from like Lance and JD and everybody who's been on the show before. That's awesome having alumni on, but seeing the people from the chat. I know JD's coming to us from his shower, but
gross. Don't clean your screen.
I should have been expecting that one.
Yeah.
I think so. Anyone got any good jokes?
Just Trump orange jokes.
Trump orange jokes.
Oh yeah. We all know those. No good Indian jokes? No good even the dirty ones? Nothing?
Oh.
Okay, then you know what I'm going to do then?
What?
Nobody spoke up right away. I'm going to explain why I always call this my Sunday class. Because I learn something new every time I come here, and I can't think of a better name. Because when you learn something, what is it? What are you doing? You're spending time to go to this event. So I had to, because every time I write something, I can never try to figure out how to put it in writing. So it's like, okay, now's my chance.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to know I learn a lot from everybody, because the people that I learn from are sitting right here. Because the people you have on here, I think it's great. I mean, it's like, wow, that's really something. So I have to explain that, and I'm going to always call it that, because I think it really is an education to come on this. I had to say that because I took advantage.
Yeah.
Right on.
JD.
And the same for us, JD. We learn, when you guys in the chat room ask your questions and then our guests answer, and we all start to talk about the issue or the question or whatever. I learn a lot also. So I'm always learning from everybody here, learning from the chat room, learning from my sister. Even though we've been together for all these years, I still learn from her. Yeah.
Smart thing to say.
So it is, and it's something that Little Crow, our mentor, taught us was, it's about dialogue. It's about people opening up and talking to one another, and communication, and controlling the language, and using that language to speak to one another and express and disseminate information to everyone. And us having this platform has been very unique for me, because that message always resonated in my heart for the 30 years that he was my mentor. Well, he's since passed, but he was always telling Shannon and I to disseminate that information, and I always wondered, really what that was going to look like or how that would look. And, do I do something like Levi and become a writer for a paper, or, do I do something like Dallin and get into the community and Tyra and get into the community and do it with artwork, with my dance or singing with the drum, or, how do I disseminate my information? How do I get what's inside me out there to the people? And eventually, the internet came, and the platforms like this came. And then, of course, the timing of COVID came for us to start this show, actually. So for Shannon and I, and for this show, COVID has, kind of been a positive for us as far as us being able to put the time together to actually start this and to disseminate that information that our elder taught us that, he wanted us to do. And so it's been a very positive experience for me to be able to speak my heart, to converse with intellectual people within the Indian community, and to be able to talk to as many people out there as possible. I know our audience isn't huge. We don't have a very big audience, but this information is out there and it's sitting there forever now, as long as YouTube doesn't kick us off.
Well, actually, it's getting pretty big. I know YouTube is our smallest audience, but on Facebook and Twitter, we're getting, 500 on Facebook, and then we're getting more as time goes on because this stuff is available on demand. We're getting about the same amount on Twitter, and I know YouTube's the only one that will, that you could potentially make a profit on, or,
there's other platforms that can monetize, but YouTube is the monetization versus the other platforms around. But really what's at my heart is, being able to share these things and share people like all of you sitting here on the screen, to share your thoughts and your visions and disseminate your information out in Indian country. And if we are touching, 500 people, then it does touch me that we're able to do that on this platform. So it's been awesome to be part of this and to be able to do that.
Yeah. Someone asked a question about the vaccine. So there's been some news about the vaccine for COVID, and that the president at Navajo Nation basically talking about potentially giving Navajo the vaccine, or being part of the first wave of a new vaccine.
Oof.
And
is it still in the testing phase?
Yeah, it started like 2 weeks ago that Navajo has allowed for testing, and the way President Ness explained it was that, and how he said it was different nationalities, but I think, whereas we are a tribal nation, so he's technically correct, but I think what he's trying to say, different racial groups may not be able to handle the vaccine the way other racial groups do. And so he felt it was important that, and it's on a volunteer basis, that Navajo people participate. So that started like 2 weeks ago, and I think the Gallup area. So it's going to be interesting. And there was a lot of resistance. If you look at the Navajo Times comment section on Facebook, and I think even in their newspaper, it was pretty negative that Navajo people were a little resentful, said they are not guinea pigs, and et cetera, et cetera. So I just think it's something that needs to be real cautious, and people need to be very cautious about. And the tribal consultation is taking place as we speak. When I say not Sunday night, but obviously, but it started last week, and I think it continues into this week. The various regions, the IHS regions, are able to call in to the government, and I think it's till the October 9th. And go to Native News Online. There's an article that we published. I think it was last Monday, or maybe the Monday before. We do a lot of stories. I just don't remember exactly when it was published, but it was published recently, and that is going on right now. And so it's really important that Native people have voices, and what they're trying to do is solicit information from tribal leaders to find out how is the best way to distribute the vaccines once they are approved within various tribal nations. So I'm happy that they are. I see someone said guinea pigs. So yeah, I'm right there with you. So it's very scary. I know I wouldn't want to take the vaccine right now.
Especially right now with this administration,
That's correct.
It's like,
and just with that eugenics kind of flavor talking all the time, it's kind of just like reality. If what heart is a black heart or Indian heart or a white heart, it's all kind of the same, at least biological sense.
Levi, do you know anything about, or can you speak to at all how they're going about conducting that? Because I listened to a talk recently and there was concern about the ethics of the research and there being coercion to get people to join in the trials of the vaccine and everything. Do you know anything about that?
All I know is that they started it, and I think IHS or something maybe on their website, and look up about the consultations, and I think this is important that American Indians across Indian country have the ability to voice their opinions. I think that's really critical.
Did they say where this vaccine company or what's this vaccine coming from, the company? Because I heard it was like 150 plus different vaccines, at least worldwide, that are kind of working to get this thing done. So I'm just kind of,
I think the Navajo Times actually reported the company. Honestly, I just don't remember. And Pfizer's in my head, but please don't quote me on that. We need to. I get that.
Yeah. Just
wow. Yeah, Cherokee Nation. April's saying that Cherokee Nation wants to do that as well. Yeah.
If they do have a vaccine, of course, children, older people, of course, and those essential workers. I mean, just the rate of exposure in the cops. Even though people are kind of hating on the cops, they're the first ones being exposed to all sorts of different people, at least today. As I would say, put those guys in line first, and then kind of dwindle it down.
Yeah, there was even Dr. Fauci, right? Joined here. I can bring this article up. I'm so slow bringing stuff up on the share screen here. Here we go. Fauci. Encourage trial enrollment. And so Fauci is he working with the Navajo Nation?
He was part of a town hall or a video virtual meeting that they had with the leadership 2 weeks ago. I want to say Tuesday, and this is that story there. They were speaking about this testing, and he actually at that point complimented the Navajo Nation, and that he felt like, well, he actually said that other states could actually use Navajo Nation's shutdown as an example of what should have happened, because he felt like the curve was flattened there. They've had some spikes, and the concern is that Navajo people are still traveling to Albuquerque or Phoenix, to the larger cities, and bringing it back when they do their contact referencing who went where and how did they bring it back to the reservation. They can really isolate it to a few family functions, and so. But Fauci was very, very supportive of what Navajo Nation has done, and he said that he felt like I said, they could be an example to states around the United States. And some of the governors, as we all know, have really, really turned their head to it, and I don't think they have been real focused, nor have they always acted. They've acted in a real careless fashion, as far as I'm concerned, especially out in like South Dakota and even North Dakota.
Go.
Are we slowing down?
I think that next step that I always kind of run into talking to Indians via internet is that vaccine. Even the flu shot, they're kind of just like hesitating, or a lot of anti-vaccination talk. even just you know, trying to explain to them how vaccines kind of work, even to that how they're testing it, how the process of testing kind of goes to say, hey, this is a quality vaccine. This is kind of just stemming away from that fear, because that other part is, you know, say we do have it, there's going to be that other element that doesn't take it for trust wise.
Mm-hmm. And I think that extends even beyond Indian country. There are just people very fearful of what's going on, and I think it's really indicative of a administration that has told so many lies. Let's just be honest, so many lies. You don't know what to believe anymore. And I mean, when we posted this story the other day about overnight, Friday night, that Trump had COVID, I would have to say a quarter to a third of the comments early on Facebook were, we think it's just a political ploy. He really doesn't have it. And our people really are not trusting of a whole lot of what this administration has said. And you can even go further that they haven't always been real trusting of what the United States government has told them, because we have been lied to for arguably centuries. So I think we have to proceed with caution.
Yeah.
Well, just to kind of play devil's advocate, you know, because there are, like you mentioned, there are over 100 different trials happening. And even if Navajo Nation hadn't stepped in, one of the first things would have been, well, why are, once again, the minorities and the tribal nations are being left out of the government taking care of its citizens. You know, there are, but coupled with, I get it, coupled with the misconceptions about vaccines and how they actually work, there's a greater danger that the vaccine won't work, because it's essentially a dead form of the virus. And if you think of it like a lock and key, it's the catalyst for your body to create the proper key to kill the lock that is the virus. And so you have to have some sort of antigen introduced to your body so that your own immune system can then take care of it. But what we've learned in the last 40 years about vaccinations and delivery systems, you know, there was some pretty nasty stuff in the old days that adversely reacted to certain individuals. You know, God only knows how complex our biologies are individually, as a tribal community, and as humanity as a whole. So I get it. You know, for people who aren't scientists, it's something scary to even think about. You know, but that shouldn't dissuade us from, if we don't know the science, then why not learn the science and educate our communities about it and say, hey, you know what, this is a good idea for our community, which has been hit 20% harder than the rest of the population, to take some of the first steps forward. You are going to see people getting sick from the vaccine. Their body has to combat introduced antigens. And how does it do that? With fevers, with coughs, with, you know, hopefully a lower level than they would have got if a live virus had been introduced to their bodies, which could potentially kill them. So it's, you know, it's a baby step into just the science behind vaccinations, but it's frustrating because we have built our relationship on a foundation of just lies and deceit and mistrust.
Yeah.
How do we overcome that and not understand science? You know, it's pretty scary for a lot of people. But if I had the opportunity, I would go get the vaccination. I would be part of the trial, just because I feel like I understand enough about the science that I feel comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I, you know, and not to undermine anything that you said, because I know that this is absolutely important. So what I'm going to say, it's just so we can have a discussion, not to undermine anything or any beliefs that anybody has. My grandma, she's Black, and she's indigenous on my mother's side. And I watched this program, and it was really interesting, and it was on C-SPAN, and I tried looking for it a minute ago, and I couldn't find it, but it was a couple of Black doctors. And one thing that they even brought up, and I will bring this up now, is that Dr. Showski, whatever, I can't pronounce the name for sure, but, you know, the way he described it was, we need to have more minorities. And with these doctors were saying is the way that this system works is no different if you're a person of color or if you're white. And the disproportionate amount that they're utilizing us for guinea pigs was a mindset that they actually gave the people from way back when, that they even think to this day that blacks and Mexicanos and indigenous people también, none of us actually have the same, we have a higher threshold of pain and our bodies are different, but they're finding out scientifically that that's not true. So when they're saying they're going to go to these communities, it's actually like a farce. And again, I'll see if I can find that and bring that up. And again, it's not to undermine the efforts that we're trying to do to protect all the people, because, you know, what that nation's going to do is protect a lot of people within this entire world. So I don't want to undermine that, but I think we have to be aware that when that man who's sitting there in the Capitol and he says we have to have more people of color, my question is where are all these people that want to breathe free? Why aren't they standing in line? Because if it's just a cold, you know, where's their fear? You know, and that's what surprises me, is they're willing to go to these communities with another infected blanket, and yet there's all these people running around without masks. Why aren't they coming up? Where are these patriots? You know what I mean?
And I agree with you. I think, like I just mentioned, that there has been this crazy relationship built on deceit and lies and misconceptions about the science. But I do think people have stepped forward, whether they're, I don't know if they're all the anti-maskers or not, but, you know, with these hundreds of trials going on, we're just a small percentage of that. You know, we're probably less than 1% of the trial participants. So you know, it's happening. I think for sure, but I definitely don't discount where all that historically has come from, you know, because at the end of the day, it's a matter of melanin, and that's it. That's the only deciding factor is the amount of melanin in our skin, and that's all. There's no other biological differences, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're all humans. John Trudell, I sat down with him before he passed, and we had a great conversation. And he's like, tribal communities got to get out of this weird colonial tribalism, sense of tribalism. We're all human beings. I don't even say I'm part of the tribe. I say I'm a human being first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in it together. We've all got to figure it out together.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Can you still hear me, Shannon?
Yes.
Oh, my audio is whacking out. It's not feeding back either, though, right?
No, you're all right. You're all right. Yeah. And then on the other hand of all of this is, you know, Trump is throwing around his MAGA hats at everybody. And, you know, that kind of is like those diseased blankets, you know.
I would pay for some more boxes for him to throw out.
Oh man!
Someone had to say
a little bit. Yeah,
high five. High five.
That's terrible.
I find it interesting that, you know, now they're spreading amongst each other. I find that very, very interesting at this time that's happening.
That is very unique.
It is happening. You know, this my conspiracy voice in my head told me as soon as this happened, as soon as they announced, my wife woke me up in the middle of the night and said, "Hey, Trump's got COVID." It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, what? She told me it's all over the news. He's got the COVID. And then my first thought was, he's lying. He's lying about it. He's going to go sit in the hospital for a month or so. He's going to let Pence become president, and he's going to have him pardon his ass so he doesn't go to jail if he loses this election. That's what I was thinking. You know, I was like, this son of a bitch. He's freaking trying to get out of it so that he can get pardoned by Pence.
Yeah, I thought it was his campaign actually needs a reset. So I thought it may have been part of a reset. And I was just looking here. MSNBC just reported that Trump is up, Biden is up, like 53 to 39% in some of the national polls right now. NBC. So the gap is starting to widen. So the reset is not going to, I don't think, may not make a whole lot of difference. But
and the thing about that, and why I'm so adamant about telling people to get out there and express their voice and use their vote, because if it's overwhelming, if the vote, like you said, if it goes in that direction of 59 to 39%, then other legislators lose their seats too. The House falls, the Senate falls out of power of those people on that other on the side of greed, on the side of moneyed interest, and then some of the people that actually have empathy for the people, Indian country included, may get in power and start to help change things. Because once the masses do, regain power, and we can do things like legislate Citizens United out of our government, then and only then can voices as small as Indian country right now become louder and become more influential within the decision-making process of what's going on here in this country. So it's important that vote gets out there, and more things than just the presidency get changed, because that's what one of the gentlemen who, I think he left, Wabanaki, said was, hey, he doesn't have any power, but all of the other legislative branches do. They're getting ready to put moneyed interests completely in the Supreme Court now. So they're about to take that over. So if you don't have legislators that can get in there, I mean, how many of those, how many legal issues that the Supreme Court takes up do you think are going to fall in Indian country's way, or fall to the favor of Indian country if they have a court stacked like they have right now? Probably none. You won't see any legislation going our way. So it's important. It is very important right now at this time.
And I think that there's a danger that if the polls starting to widen, that, well, it doesn't matter, Biden's going to win anyway. I think that, no, I think any good politician tells you it's not over till it's over. So you need to keep the gas pedals going as fast as you possibly can, and do not think that it's over, because it's not over, and every vote matters. And if there's never been an election that shows us who the president of the United States is, the 2016 election really showed us it matters who is president of the United States, especially when it comes to Indian country, in terms of everything that everybody else is worried about, because everybody has cell phones, everybody has cars, on, and not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. But beyond that, we as Native people have particular issues that we are worried about and that we are concerned with, such as water settlement rights, sovereign rights, environmental issues that go through our reservations. So it really does matter, and I think we need to keep the gas pedal going as fast as we can.
Yeah. I mean, look at how Keystone flipped. How all those things over there just on their head, they flipped. And they started losing all the ground that they were gaining during that time. And although they may not have had advocacy in the United States government, but there were people listening, and there were people, willing to slow things down. There, even though that is not where we wanted to be at the time, and we were fighting for more. At least there was some advocation there versus what there is today.
So I was curious go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was curious how how you guys approach Indians who are Republicans, and how you communicate to them that say, hey, we might want to think about this, when they're throwing, reiterating talking points that people throw at you almost every day. Because I just want to go juvenile and
yep,
blah blah blah.
So Lance, you walk right up to him, you grab him by the shirt, and you slap him right across the face. You ever seen that Batman meme? Pow!
with the baby powder.
Yeah. and I monitor our social media every once in a while, and what was interesting with the border wall, when we were talking about protecting sacred sites, in opposition to the border wall, there were a lot of people who are Native who are saying, well, we need the border wall. And so to respond, back to that is really difficult if you're not willing to look at the facts. So regardless of whether you're Democrat, Republican, whatever, if you're not willing to do a little investigation and think for yourself about some of these issues, then you're just, you're just following the, whatever, whatever's out there. I wanted to share with you guys something because I saw something, I think it was today. And there's some, I think some media and stuff coming out from, I think I know some of the names in the Native American community that are coming out with some of this, but here's a Facebook page of Native Americans who support Trump, and there's 4,100 people, it says, who like this. I don't know, maybe this is a
Fake page.
Yeah, maybe it's a fake page, I don't know.
Or a real page with not very many natives on there.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like it's really that extensive, but it's out there, and there are Native American peoples who are who do support Trump. And I think Vice President of the Navajo Nation is one of those. Here's the Navajo people for Donald Trump. And so I think it's really important not to show this crap, but again, I think when Indian country can talk as one voice, we can be very powerful. And it's always been the position of our government to divide and conquer. That's how they've gotten to us. Every time it's divide and conquer. And it really kind of hurts my heart that we have not been able to educate our own people as far as what policies are important to us and what Trump is really doing and what he's not. I know people will always be contrary, but I guess I always have hope that we would all come together in one voice when it comes to these national elections and what have you.
I think Crow did it too, endorsing Trump. It's even just written in how we described, it's always, who are those people over there? Well, it's those blah, 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 expletive derogatory statement of that tribe, so it's always kind of been around. I even hesitate people on saying the word Navajo because it's not even a Navajo word. It's a table word, meaning crop thief. So it's just like, I'd rather call you Danae, which is the people, rather than, hey, you're a crop thief. But it's like, it's written everywhere.
Yeah. There's a sign put up by a white man in and off the reservation, and it says Navajos for Trump. I don't doubt that at all.
I've seen that sign off the 40.
Oh, wow. Man. All right. We need to bring this conversation back up. We can end on a good note.
Okay. TikTok. Let's talk TikTok.
There was a native guy that sang, he lip synced the Fleetwood Mac song, and it's getting we're working on a story. I can't think of his name now, but that's an uplifting thing. And I can't remember the song, but it has now gone back on the charts because people he's a Cheyenne Arapaho, and he works on a potato farm in Idaho. But there's a snippet out there. TMZ has run something. The LA Times ran something over the weekend, and we're working on a story. We're trying to actually get a Zoom interview with him. But that's an uplifting thing. Here's a guy. I think he's 22 years old. If my memory serves me right. But he did lip sync a Fleetwood Mac song, and it's like that song is now back on the charts, believe it or not. So it's kind of cool.
All right, so I'm gonna bring some TikTok up. I always talk about it. I'm gonna share some TikTok screen.
Oh my, oh Lord, here we go, everybody.
Okay.
It's your fault I
Hey,
discovered
if you're
it.
not on native TikTok, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see here.
Should Native News Online be on TikTok? That's what I'm wondering.
Well,
Yes, you should. Here, let's just watch it. Let's just watch a few clips here.
All right.
Okay.
Let me see if I did this right. Hold on a second. I think I messed up the sound here. Let me redo this.
Yeah, TikTok has reached out to the association. I actually have a call with them tomorrow or Tuesday.
Nice.
Because
give them my number. Give them my number or my email.
I will.
Okay.
Can you hear it?
Yep.
Turn your ass back around. We are the tribe that they cannot see. We live on an industrial reservation. We are the Halusa Nation. We have been called the Indians. We have been called Native American. We are the tribe that they can.
Hey, all you Indians, why don't you guys go over there and have yourself a powwow? Hey.
Another one.
Turn around. Turn your ass back around.
Waited all day, waited all night, waiting for you to reply. Now I'm in bed, thoughts through my head, all because you left me unread. Away, yo. This is the RCMP.
The fucking clinic is here to check on you. Open the door and come back with a sledgehammer.
I'll open the door when the clinic comes here.
The lovely RCMP doing a wellness check on an Indigenous man
I'm recording it.
with an axe in his hand and using profane language. It's time that we defund the police and allocate resources to where they're actually needed, to mental health professionals, not police officers, because they are not qualified to do mental health checks.
Talk. I'm just going to keep watching.
Damn, Chin. Some greasy shit.
You ain't got no better food, like some chicken wings, some baby back ribs, some fries or something? Chinese food, no soul food here. I didn't say nothing about no soul food. I said you got some better food. I don't want that greasy shit. How you gonna sell a big box of grease? Chini on what? Chini on what? Come on. I'm no punk bitch. I ain't no punk bitch neither. Damn,
All right.
greasy shit.
Let me see if I can pull it down here. All right. So anyway, I love native TikTok.
There is some cool stuff on TikTok, and I think it's a great. I just have no idea how to do it. I don't.
Roy will figure it out.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll get it on there. All
right. Lance is going to help us with some TikTok, right, Lance?
I need some TikTok tutorials.
Yes. Let's get this together, and I think JD's in a perfect position to help us with some TikTok coming to us from the shower. I think there's some good Indian humor that can come.
Who's behind the shower?
Okay, I'm going to say this now. This is Roy's fault, Shannon. You make sure you tell him that. I actually had my daughter-in-law come over and hook me up to TikTok all because of him, and it's like, oh yeah, right on, son. Because remember, I got a landline, you know.
A landline?
Did I just date myself?
So you loving it though? You like native
Oh yeah,
TikTok? It's cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
Huh? You sit there and laugh for hours.
That's the thing is you get on it and you just get off and it's already dark and it's like, oh wait a minute, where'd the time go?
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes when you're scrolling through and you're like been on for an hour and you don't even realize it, and then all of a sudden somebody will get on and say, hey, you've been scrolling too long. Get your ass out to bed, and you're like, oh shit.
So Shannon, remember that's Roy's fault, okay?
I will, and I'll be sure to rub it in every chance I get.
Yeah. Contaminating the old guy here.
Hey, my good people, I need to do some writing, so I'm going to sign off. So,
all right, Levi,
it's good to see you.
Levi,
we'll do this again.
I like some of your stories. Right on, man.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night, everyone.
Nice
all right, good night. And thank you, everybody, for coming on. Thanks, Lance and JD, for coming on. It's good to have you guys out of the chat and up on here with us. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Good meeting you, Lance and Roy and Shannon. Thank you guys for what you do. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll do this again.
Thank you guys for having this available and just having us communicate hundreds of miles away and just rolling ideas in your head and rolling ideas in my head to kind of just figure this out all together. I mean, that's even though we're using this high-tech technology that's very traditional, even watching those TikTok stuff, that's like, at least my experience with ceremonies, that's always the hardest part for Indians, is us to just be, when we're all together, just, we always want to visit and we always want to joke, and the hardest part is us just being quiet. My family, we're always being yelled at, shh, because we're always laughing, we're always doing stuff, there's things around, and we're just having a good old time laughing together. So
exactly.
Thank you guys for having this.
Right on, Lance.
Thanks, Lance.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
It's good to have you with us. See y'all.
See you guys.
Bye.
All right. Well, Shannon, I think that the talking circle went over good, huh?
I think it did. I think we'll have to do this regularly. What does everyone think? Yeah.
I think so too. I like it.
Yeah, I do too. And I really enjoyed everyone. Thanks everyone for all the questions. We really had some good discussions, and let's not stop here. Let's keep this discussion going and bring them back next week. By the way, next week we have a citizen from the Lumbee tribe out in North Carolina. I don't know if you know her or not, Roy. Her name is Mary Ann Jacobs. She's a professor at University of North Carolina in Pembroke. So she's Lumbee. She's teaching Lumbees. She's in the middle of Lumbee land, and we're going to hear from her.
I just know my brother Larry Lumbee out here.
Larry the Lumbee is what.
Larry the Lumbee out here from UC Long Beach.
Yeah. Larry Smith. Larry
Smith. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Larry in so many years. I got to try and reach out to him and see how he's doing.
He's
Maybe
at
he'll want to
Riverside.
come and watch the show. Yeah.
Yeah, he's teaching at Riverside, I think.
Man.
Yeah, yeah.
We've all come such a long way. He's teaching now at college, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
So anything else, Roy? What else have we got to say? Everyone be well.
Be well, be safe. Get out there and voice your vote is my word to everybody at this time. I understand that it is a sore spot for Indian country participating in the government that has, done us wrong for so long. I understand that, but it is important, and it's your country too. And it governs over the lands that we all love so much, and over the peoples that we all love so much. So I say, get out there and voice your opinion, because you can. You do have the ability to do so. Even though we are sovereign nations, you do have authority to express your vote in this whole thing that's going on right now. So I urge you and implore you to do so.
And you also have the power to tell Roy what you think of his opinions.
Yes, and I have the power to accept it or not.
Please do. And I also want to remind everyone that this is brought to you by the Association on American Indian Affairs. And I also want to remind you of our 6th annual repatriation conference that's coming October 26th through 28th. It's an all virtual. If you want to join us on that conference, please send an email to general.aaia@indian-affairs.org, or go to our website, find our contact information, let my office know. I'll make sure that you can participate and watch online for that repatriation conference. We want as many people from Indian country to attend that want to. So
be there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you all next week. Take care and have a good one. Bye-bye.
Yes. Okay. Bye-bye.